Beautiful design. Beautiful design. This is my biggest source of inspiration. Big Blue Meanie. Yeah, I'm here to talk about the reviewing Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. It's my favorite out of all the Batman movies. This is it. History, it's just the final episode of the TV series Batman Beyond, which was running around the late 90s up to 2000. Uh, aired a really, really good run. It's supposed to be about the future adventures of a younger teenage Terry McGinnis, who's being trained under Bruce Wayne. And a lot of questions were lingering throughout the show. There's a whole kind of a cult of punk kids following Joker and embodying him and not really getting it exactly right, kind of just being punks and menaces to society. A lot of new designs and new monsters. The thing about the show was that it was always new. It wasn't trying to emulate everything like all the greatest hits of Batman. It was trying to do something different. It was extremely easy to pick up. It had a lot of different things, but still, it had a lot of lingering ideas. And as being the last episode, last movie, this was going to close up and explain what happened to the Joker. The plot goes, the Joker pretty much starts off from the beginning. There's a bunch of Joker kids who are stealing electronics and equipment, and they're being led by Joker, a somewhat kind of current age, not, this is 40 years in the future. Joker would have been a cripple, old man. He would be insanely old, but he's not. He looks normal. He looks very, very normal, and he's leading the gang. So eventually the gang starts attacking both Bruce Wayne and Terry McGinnis personally, not as Batman, not as or hunting him down. So as the story progresses, they Bruce Wayne asks Terry to step down as Batman for the responsibility of the events that happened before. The biggest thing about this story is that when explained what happened to the Joker, it starts bringing in more of an emotional aspect to the Joker than any other story has done before. It starts with a simple idea that Batman keeps adopting children, and it talks about Tim Drake. Comic book fans know he's the third Robin, and he's actually really good. He's really good at what he does, and the idea is that the Joker kidnaps him, and after torture, Tim tells him who Batman is. So with that, Batman just Joker perverts Robin and mutates him into a Joker kid, which is twisted and demented take on Batman and Joker. It's not uncommon to see like characters have their own kid version or sidekick or younger version. Harley Quinn is probably the best example, but this is a direct stab at Bruce Wayne, and it's more of an emotional thing. And this is why I really find it kind of bothersome when the Batman stories try to bring in a woman as this relationship, because Batman is this a boy who never had his childhood, and the adoption of children is how he trains them and mentors them, and this is how he himself kind of accepts moving on, because deep down he's this really military, kind of almost conservative, not as much, but still he's almost like a general when you compare him with the rest of the Justice League. He's exactly cold, methodical, and he always gets everything right. He's always right, no matter what. But still, the addition of a family in the comics, Dick Grayson and Batgirl and Tim Drake always added an air of, they removed the broodiness and they themselves are suffering, and they themselves are they themselves are very, very dark. Even Batgirl has her own problems. I mean, being shot and everything else. This isn't part of the animated series, but I'm just going on about Batman's children. They're extremely important. I feel they're more important than Batman. They add this level of relatability. I mean, Batman, what makes him popular is he becomes this kind of like Dirty Harry kind of character. Just revenge and vengeance, and that's what makes, at least during Dark Knight, seem so appealing. But still, what is interesting is the rich history, and I think Batman Beyond does it better than, without making it too campy, doing it new, doing it fresh. They added the biggest fact that it can do everything right. It's they added Ace, the Bat Hound, as a Great Dane, and this is my favorite thing out of the movie is that there is a fight scene near the end where Ace fights a hyena spliced Joker thug. This is the other thing about the movie that I love a lot. It doesn't really go too deep in explaining too many things that have happened on the animated series. Splicing is a genetic, just like piercing or tattoos or body modifications. Splicing is when kids kind of splice their genes to look like animals. And there's this kid who goes around with a hyena kind of splice. The voice actor who does him is the famous Hanna-Barbera voice actor. He's done Scooby-Doo. He's done billions of cartoon voices. And he gets to fight, gets a really awesome fight with Ace, the Bat Hound, who's a Great Dane and an actual real dog voice. So when the fight happens and Ace beats the crap out of Hyena Boy, you know, Terry goes, "Good Bat Dog." Best line out of the whole movie. I love that the most. And that's an example. It's like you took the most campiest aspect, Ace the Bat Hound, you've modernized him, and it works so great. He's wonderful. He's great. Like, my favorite scene is the one where after Joker ransacks Wayne Manor, Ace is hurt, probably electrocuted. You never get to see. You just hear a howl in the background. But there's a shot where Terry comes to see how Ace is doing, and he's watching a classic Bugs Bunny cartoon, and no, I'm sorry, a Daffy Duck cartoon, and he's like looking all sad over it as Terry comes to look at him, and it's this beautiful, and Terry comes to take care of him. And if you've been watching the show, you know that Terry kind of hates Ace, and Ace is really mean and everything to him and everything, but still it builds up a relationship. And this is one of those things that if you're a fan, you know it. But if you're just casually watching, you don't need the backstory. You don't need all this heavy exposition explaining their relationships, and it's done so well. But still, explaining the Joker is very, very well done. And here I feel like the Joker hits Batman, hits him down to the core. Like I was saying about family and everything else, it's something that is very important to him. He's still a child in his own, because he's never had that childhood. He's been this kind of like this cold machine. And then once Joker perverts it, Batman snaps. And, you know, goes like Dolph Lundgren, "I'll break you." You know, and this movie is, hits it right on the core, and I don't think any of the Batman movies does it well. I mean, they bring in women, and they bring in these cheap kind of, a woman can change him. But, you know, it's been about 8 Batman movies, and we still have this terrible relationships that only a few characters actually have. And it's not romantic, but it's a father and son relationship of adopted father, adopted son, relationship of Batman and Tim Drake, Batman and Terry. And now a lot of ideas are taken from Dark Knight, Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, and what works is it becomes a parody of what's going on. I mean, we have like Superman doing secret missions for Ronald Reagan. You know, even at the time, it seems almost silly. But the thing that works here is Terry adds another bit of humanity to Batman rather than being this cold, heartless man who's all alone. And that's what's so good. It takes ideas that can go a wrong way, and they can go very, very badly. You can have the campy aspect like Ace the Bat Hound, which not everyone likes, and I kind of don't blame them. But you take it and you make it really, really cool, and it works. Dark Knight, having Batman giving up, Bruce Wayne giving up Batman because of the second Robin, Jason Todd. Feels so much better. After Jason Todd's death, he gives up being Batman, and he gets picked on by thugs. And then that's what propels him to go into being into Batman again. Here, it's almost identical. He adopts Terry, but he still bosses him around, and they still have a troubled relationship because Bruce Wayne still is this crotchety old man, old man. Now the thing is, again, they're able to grow, and they're able to. It's not an obvious father and son relationship, but there's still something going on there. And it's good. It's really, really good. It's easy to watch. It's easy to get into. Now, one of my biggest reasons why I watch this a lot is the art. The art is extremely stylized, not lots of shapes. Really, really moving. The animation's beautiful. The animation is by far their best work ever. This would have to be 2000. This is like well over 8 years after the animated series came on. 7 or 8 years after the animated series came on. This is them at their best. Beautiful designs. Shane Glines came in as a character designer, and so did Darwin Cook, two of the best designers. Glenn Morikai is listed in the credits. He's an amazing designer. Love his designs on Batman. And here, it's really shapes. They're beautiful abstract shapes. Not too much detail. Just abstract shape on top of abstract shape in this kind of. I know a friend of mine doesn't agree with me, but there is an inspiration of Jack Kirby, but it's an also really, really pulpy kind of action-packed design, and it's really easy to see and tell. The problem with a lot of these future designs is it becomes too overwhelming, and here it's this simplicity that works so brilliantly. I mean, I don't really know how Batman's suit works, but it's this kind of simplicity to it that it works. You know, it just how they design it, how they worked it. Now, some of the other stuff like the Joker abandoned candy factory, still the design of it is beautiful, just beautiful, and the fight scenes in it are astonishing. This I pop in every now and then. I get inspired. It's just inspiration for the eyes. Aside from that, other favorite moments, I could always watch the flashback sequence explaining Joker and Tim Drake. Now, this came out in 2003, and as you can see up here, uncensored and everything else. This was like at the height of the uncensored DVD craze. The original came out in 2000. This was a couple months after the Columbine murders, and the DVD was heavily censored. When it came back from Korea, the animation team re-edited a lot of it, and to be aware of what was currently going on politically, they wanted to make it not as offensive. And it's a kids show. It's not a bad kids show. It's a kids show, so they took out a good chunk of stuff. Now, I'm going to say something that my friends didn't like, because at the time we all like exchanged VHS tapes of a Asian bootleg copy which had all the uncensored scenes. But I felt the censored version was actually really good. It wasn't a dramatic change. There was a few cuts, few edits, few pacing changes. One of which was a man was Black Canary was removed from a scene, and a man was added right in there instead of instigating two women hookers or even lesbians. Heavens forbid, kids would think about that. And there was like an edit of a beautiful woman body, more shadows added so you can't see the body of the woman. A knife was removed, blood was removed, and all these things seemed really, really silly, and that's why all my friends went for the bootleg version. I kept my censored version. The biggest change is instead of shooting the Joker, which is how Terry kills the Joker, he pushes him into electricity, and it's effective. At the time, politically, you can tell the whole tense atmosphere over censorship, Marilyn Manson lyrics getting scrutinized, getting blamed for all the murders, video games, Daikatana came out, which was a really horrible game. But video games were to blame for it, movies were to blame, the Matrix movies were being blamed. And they were on, this is a show that ran on Saturday mornings. This is a show where they felt that they needed to make some sort of a choice. Now, it's still a darker story, and it taps into that emotional core of Batman that I still think the censored version is really good. The uncensored version is great also. I'm glad to own it. So very glad to own this one. But that's the effect of why it needed to happen. Now this is 10 years later, and I kind of want to get a retrospective kind of thing going on. And what's interesting was that when this came out, it really did feel the end of Batman. And like I said, it was a couple months after Columbine, and actually we thought it was going to be censored and it was going to be cut forever. It didn't. Columbine passed. We had 9/11, and we had lots of other things that have made us change our mind. And it's still, this show was special. It was doing something different, and it did it really, really, really well. Now, 10 years later, at the time, you feel like you're never going to see them again. You're never going to see Batman Beyond again. But little by little, in Justice League, you saw cameos of Batman Beyond. In Static Shock, you saw cameos of Batman Beyond, and they were still true to the character, and they were still very, very, very consistent. Up to now, where Batman Beyond has his own comic book series by Dustin Nguyen, doing the covers, but still he's part of the continuity, and that's the kind of this relief that I feel, because I felt like Batman Beyond was an underdog. Batman Beyond was this kind of an Elseworld that not everyone really liked. It was something special to me. It was something that I thought was cool, but it could have easily have turned into Spider-Man 2099 or other future shows that just go way too crazy, and it just becomes too silly, like Spider-Girl. Spider-Girl is an example of kind of this future take on Spider-Man that doesn't seem to get a lot of popularity, but still has a small cult following and doesn't seem to get followed too much. Spider-Man 2099 is another example of just a little bit too far, but still it's too crazy for people to follow. Here it's something that it feels special because there are these emotional aspects in the story that do get explored, and they get explored really, really well, and it's really easy to follow. Good pulpy action. It's great, and it's such a relief seeing the future 10 years later that Batman Beyond is more of a relevant thing than other things that have tried to come and go. It's interesting. It's really special, and I still rank this as the best Batman. Why? I think I stated before. Feel the emotional aspects of having children in here can be done. They don't have to be campy. They can be emotional. I mean, to be honest, at the end of the day, it's still Batman's a good guy. He's not gonna go Dark Knight on us. He's not gonna go crazy vigilante, holding a rifle and everything, and you know, fighting Superman at the end. He's not gonna do it. He's still gonna be a good guy. And this is an example of kind of like where you can take an idea and at the end of the day it can be pulpy, it can be action packed, it can be really really good. And that's what I have to say. It's my favorite Batman movie out of all the Batman movies. Live action still can't beat it. It's my favorite story. It's my favorite inspiration. Best movie ever.